Hello. So yesterday, the central bank announced that it's going to have there's going to be a shift from physical currency to digital money to reduce the costs of printing cash. Why are they looking at reducing the cost of printing the cash? Because we, the people, are mishandling the paper money, that we are destroying it by overfolding it, etc. So as a way of cutting back those costs, which costs actually are apparently in dollars because we don't print the money here, the deputy governor of Bank of Uganda, Augustus Nuwagaba, revealed that in order to save that money, we are going to go cashless, digital money. So there's a push to that effect. And you can't fault them on that kind of reasoning, especially if you are not aware of what's happening globally. This move of going cashless is not a local move at all, and it's not exactly based on folding of the money on expenditure. It's a global move by the invisible government, or the small cartel of people that want to control the world. And in various cases or in various countries, they give various reasons for pushing the digital currency, or for pushing populations to go cashless. Now here they are telling us to cut back on the expenditure of printing the money. When you go to Europe, they are telling them, no, we need to get cashless in order to monitor especially tourist activities and what people are doing with money in order to curb, illicit trade, etc. So they are presenting this as a measure, or as a measure that is born out of concern. Okay, but ideally, what they want to do globally, these really weird people, is to control you. Control you how? By knowing how much you earn, where you spend it, how you spend it, on what commodities you spend it, and then after they can come and control you. Not just control you in terms of observation on what you're doing, but control actually how you're spending your money, on what you're spending your money, how much you should spend. That's what their intentions are. And then if they wake up and decide, no, you shouldn't spend money on that, then you will not be able to spend money on that. If they wake up and say, no, due to fighting over climate change, therefore no one should be able to buy a diesel or petrol car unless you're an essential worker, they'll be able to stop you, because you won't be able to purchase a car. They'll be able to control the way you spend from their own coffers or from the central bank. Right now, the situation is such that if someone works for you, you can withdraw money, perhaps 5 million, and you pay that person in cash. If you pay them in cash, that person is off the radar. They don't know that person has earned 5 million. They don't know where they are going to spend it, especially if they spend it in cash. They can't tell what they have spent it on. So that person has a certain freedom. They are off the radar. They can't be monitored. They can't be controlled. Even if you're paid say 10 million, whatever millions it is, they can see that you've been paid that money. But if you pull it off the bank and then get your cash and do your other business, they can't monitor that. Now they want to be in charge of that. They want to monitor you and control how you spend, on what commodities you spend, and when you should spend, like etc. They want to be in control, total control of your money. But then I don't want you to believe me. Just believe me, because I've said this. I want you to look at these clips I'm going to share, the following clips here, that you make your own decision on this.
You're introducing the electronic euro, as I know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How can switching to an electronic currency help?
Now we have in Europe this threshold: above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the grey market. You take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But the digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control. There will be control. You're right. You're completely right. We are considering whether for very small amounts, anything that is around 300, 400 euros, we could have a mechanism where there is zero control. But that could be dangerous. The terrorist attacks on France back 10 years ago were entirely financed by those very small anonymous credit cards that you can recharge in total anonymity.
So that's Christine Lagarde, the president of the European Central Bank. You see, one, she admits that there's going to be control. And she said it's going to be limited control. But limited control, how limited? And who is going to decide these kind of limitations? Okay? And she also alludes to, again, the reasoning that I've talked about. They always shroud their agendas in some, kind of concern. Now she take terrorist attacks, so you have to control how much people are spending, where they are spending it, so you have to monitor it. You see, so they always hide their agendas under certain concern. Okay, but when you talk about limited control without defining it, and especially on the other bit, if you accept that limited control, trust me, it can be abused, it can be extended at their whims once it's accepted in the door. That's it. For example, you can remember the COVID times when people agreed to, when the 14 days, of lockdown were imposed, 14. But the 14 turned into 2 years. In certain places, perhaps even 3, from 14. So when someone starts saying that there will be limited control, that's just the opening of the door into overall control of your finances. And as if that's not enough, they are saying that they are putting a threshold of expenditure. If you have cash, that you cannot spend above 1,000. If you do, you go to jail or you're fined. Can you imagine spending your own money that you have worked for? You have not robbed anybody, you have not stolen it, and because you're spending over 1,000, someone wants to jail you for that. Do you think that's reasonable? You get, without any evidence that you've stolen, they're not going, you've stolen it, without any evidence that you've robbed somebody. No, you haven't robbed anybody, but you're spending your money in cash. I think that's too much control. You get, that's too much control, and anyone who just scratches the surface will see that there's really an ulterior motive other than fighting of terrorism or whatever other illicit thing that they are pretending that they want to fight. But now this thing that she's talking about that is ready to be, that they're talking about rolling it out in Europe in October this year, 2025, is what now our people here want to also, it's the journey that our people here want to embark on. Okay, so it's not entirely original to us. It's been done in Europe. We are just implementing what those people out there want to be implemented on a global scale. But again, there they are citing terrorism. Here we are citing expenditure of printing money, but we are ending towards the same thing, which is central bank digital currency. Now let's have a look at this other clip. Again, you'll see the amount of control that they want to put out.
And the one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it as a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like, say, ammunition or drugs or pornography or something of the sort. And that is very powerful in terms of the use of a CBDC.
Now that's economist Aswa Prasad, if I get the pronunciation right. And now that one, he was speaking at the World Economic Forum, in China. And then he talked about, I love the way he opens. He says that this digital currency has huge benefits. Then he goes on to mention the huge benefits that the government will be able to decide where you can spend your money, that you purchase. They'll be able to decide for you the things to purchase, and not so that you don't purchase the less desirable things like ammunition, drugs, pornography, and things of the sort. So who is going to decide for me? Now, when you mention ammunition and drugs and pornography, you are yes, but that's not all. That's not all. When they start to say less desirable things, who's going to decide for me what's less desirable when I've made my money? You get what I'm saying? If something is less desirable, then just make it illegal and that's it. Make a law that prohibits it, put a tax on it or something like that. Look for other, tools to use to make it less desirable for me to even consume it, other than you coming and dictate to me how I should use my money. And now here they are talking about ammunition, drugs, pornography, things that largely you and I perhaps could agree on. But I think could extend as far as, like I mentioned, that we are not able to buy that car because it's using fuel and we are fighting climate change. Therefore, nobody should buy cars for the next 2 years unless you are an essential worker. No. Don't use your money to fly out, because no one can fly right now because we are trying to reduce the fumes that, the planes, emit in the atmosphere. So therefore, no one should buy a tractor for farming because we are trying to do this, trying to do that under the guise of fighting a certain thing or like climate change. Then they come in and start to dictate to you how you should use your money. You get what I'm saying? So and then they start, and then they put a label on something like they are less desirable. So who decides what's less desirable and what's more desirable other than the person who has made the money? If I decide to go and buy 10 t-shirts, it's my money, I haven't robbed it from anybody. But then you are seeing that these people want to come in and decide for you where you should buy, or what you should buy, and how you should spend your money, what you should spend your money on. I think that's too intrusive. And these are the government, this kind of government that cannot even handle or manage their own expenditures, spending taxpayers' money, right? They are now coming in to dictate to you who's spending your own money on what you should spend it on. I think that's not only intrusive, it's dictatorial, it's tyranny shrouded as concern. Again, so for me, again, that clip shows you the ulterior. I mean, it's not even ulterior, it's not even masked at all. Their intentions are out there. They are all talking about control. Again, so the idea of all these central bank digital currencies is simple and is single. They want to control. They want to monitor what you earn, where you spend it, how you spend it, and after they come to you and say, now don't spend it here, spend it here. Now you've overspent. Now you're not allowed to spend on that. Now, because they are controlling your money off a switch. And now, if at all you think that, but has this happened? Or I mean, these are still words. Has this happened before? Has it happened anywhere else? Yeah, just back up and look at these two incidents over the truckers, riots, peaceful riots in Canada, when the truck drivers were being forced to take COVID jabs in order to carry on their work, and they refused. They just drove their trucks, blocked roads peacefully, and some of the leaders of those demonstrations their bank accounts were frozen. They couldn't access their monies. And then there was a teacher, I think, in Ireland or okay, in the UK, I think, the teacher who was because of this, gender, terminologies, pronouns that they use, a guy saying it is the woman, a woman saying the she, and the teacher are like, no, I'm not buying into those things. If you're a guy, you're a him, you are not a her. If you're she, if you're a woman, you are a her, you are not a him, you are not they, them. And that teacher, woke up one day and his bank account was wiped clean, zero. Now that's what they want to do. You get what I'm saying? So it has been already effected elsewhere in small doses, but they show you where they are headed. That if someone has, by just a remote on a switch, they can decide that now you can, out of your, say, 10 million, you can only access 1 per month. And then you spend it on the wisely chosen, goods. And that person really has you in a job for it. You have nothing to do almost to get. So that's the thing that they want to effect here. And now in the instance of the truck driver and the teacher, it wasn't even that access little money here and there, and it was like no access, zero. So someone sat where they were and they're like zero. Now what if those two guys had cash? You can't control them. Okay. So this entire move, though they reason it here and there, whatever, it is geared towards, one, it's not original. It's not our own original idea that Uganda has decided, that the central bank has decided, Uganda. No, it's not us. It's being dictated from forces above that we should be affected on a global scale. So we are only puppets implementing what the masters are saying, are dictating upon us. All right, till next time. Enjoy those 2 clips. Hope you've learned something.
There I was, no cash, no access to my credit cards, and I had no money for gas. I had no money for lodging, nothing for food. What did I do?
In 2022, Eddie Cornell was at home in New Brunswick, Canada, when he began to hear chatter of a truckers' convoy making its way to Ottawa to protest the COVID lockdowns and vaccine mandates.
And I thought, I need to be there.
Little did he know that he would become publicly marked and have his bank account frozen.
I felt betrayed. I've never convicted of a crime. I wasn't charged of a crime, and yet my government found it necessary to label me and freeze everything I own.
Today, he is the co-founder of Veterans for Freedom and has filed a civil lawsuit against the Trudeau administration.
Citizens and ex-military people didn't return any violence. Nothing, not a punch, nothing. And to be beaten that way and treated like that, the world saw.
Enoch Burke here. I'm standing outside the Bank of Ireland branch in Castlebar, County Mayo. When I left my workplace today, Wilson's Hospital School, at about 5:30 in the evening, I checked my bank balance, and this is what I found. €0 in my bank account. I have been robbed of €40,617 by the courts. Judge David Nolan, Mr. Rossa Fanning, the Attorney General, and the government all working hand in hand.